You are listening to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Mike Hare. Join me and Gypsy Jules every Monday night and Matt Hoffman and myself every Tuesday night. Listen in as we discuss a wide range of metal detecting and related topics such as technical, equipment, talk to guests, and so much more. Sit back, join in on the drinking game. For those new to the show, every time I say relic machine, you need to do a shot. These are the rules, I didn't make them up. We hope you enjoy this episode of All Metal Mode. Hello, everybody. You're listening to the All Metal Mode UK podcast, and boy, I'm sorry about the I'm sorry about that intro there. So, I think most of you are aware that I do All Metal Mode, which is in the United States Monday and Tuesday night, and then of course today I do All Metal Mode UK. Well, to get a show ready, to go from All Metal Mode to All Metal Mode UK, I've got to change all my settings and move everything around, and it's not hard. It's just something I got to do. And here I didn't change my intro, and as soon as I hit it, I realized I had the wrong intro, and I just went with it. But which is a shame because we've got a new intro, but a great new intro and for the UK show, but we'll get it next week. Hopefully I'll get it all right one of these times, and it's always a work in progress, I guess. So before we get started with our guest, Gary Blackwell, I'm really looking forward to talking to him, but I got to tell a couple stories, and number one, Andy Sampson. I don't know how many of you caught the very first podcast episode we did. Andy Sampson was our guest, and if you don't know, he found some fake gold coins from the series Detectorist, and I hated to ask, but I wanted a couple so bad, and that's usually not like me, but just to get my hands on something like that is so cool. And Andy said, "No problem, Mike. I'll get him sent." And I thought, "Wow, that's so cool." So around the same time, Dave from ArchMDMag.com sent me some magazines and a copy of ArchMD Mag and some cool stuff. I'll get into that in a second. Well, Andy had sent his first, from what I understood. His got sent out first. Well, Dave's came last week, and I thought, you know what, with the U.S. Postal Service, those coins are gone. They're lost in California or something. Who knows where they're at. And well, yesterday, Steph grabbed the mail, and without even telling me, she opened it up, and she's reading this letter, and she goes, "Oh wow, what a really nice letter." She's like, "But the coins aren't in here." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You those coins finally showed up, but there's no coins in here." And I'm looking, I'm just like almost in tears, man. Like, well, what happened to the coins? The side was split open of the envelope. I don't know if somebody seen them in there at the Postal Service and ripped it open and got them, or what happened, but no coins. I was so disappointed, but Andy, it's the thought that counts, man. And you have no idea how much I appreciate it. I will save that letter from you. That meant a lot, and I really appreciate it. So ArchMD Mag sent me a nice little package from Detective All, some magazines, the Searcher, and hold on, I gotta bring Dave in. What's the other magazine, Dave?
It was Treasure Hunting Magazine.
Yeah, I know that. It slipped my mind and I didn't have it written down. And some really cool little tokens. Very cool, man. I appreciate it. You guys have no idea. I mean, to me, it's so cool to get something from over there. Just how cool is that? Okay,
well, next year you can come and get it yourself, mate, can't you?
I hope to someday. Yeah. I got to tell a funny story. I hope you guys. We're going to start it off with a little laugh and not metal detecting related here, real quick. The other night, when you got a baby, you get sleep here and there when you can. Especially like building my headphones and stuff. Sometimes I got to do it in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping and stuff. So every chance I get, I'll get an hour here, a half an hour, 2 hours if I'm real lucky, kind of deal. And so the other day, Steph got home from work early. For her, she was home by like 2 p.m, which is real early. And she grabbed Monkey, my stepdaughter, and they went to the grocery. And right before she left, she put Randy down, and he was asleep. So I thought, "Ooh, I'm gonna go catch a little nap." This was Monday afternoon. So she wakes me up when she got home to help go carry groceries, and which is that's my job, not a problem. But so I wake up, I'm already in shorts and a t-shirt. I literally shove my feet in some flip-flops and out the door I go. Down the stairs, I go, and it's raining. It's pouring. And I grab the groceries. I'm loaded down, and this fat guy is hauling butt back to the stairs to get out of this rain. I haven't been up a minute. I don't know if I tripped on the concrete. I don't know if I tripped in the grass. I went head first into metal railing. And I mean, I hit hard, and I cut 2 fingers, cut my leg, cut my foot. If my neck felt like an accordion, and I didn't even realize it, but I exploded a gallon of milk. I mean, it exploded, and I come walk. Well, Steph come out, and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay? I heard it in the house and stuff." And I said, "I'm fine, whatever." And I'm hobbling up the stairs, feel like I was just in a car wreck. And I get in the house, and what is dripping off me? And she's like, "Milk. There's milk all over you." Well, I did the show Monday night. So right after that, I got to get ready and do Monday night show and all that. And I don't feel good. I feel rough and beat up and breaking out in cold sweats. Well, Tuesday morning, we figured out I probably blacked out because when I hit, I thought I popped right back up. Steph said it took her a good 20 seconds to get the grocery set down, come out of the kitchen, come back through and come out. And she said, I was just getting up. So if that took 20 seconds, I'm thinking I might have blacked out a little bit, but wow, I'm still beat up. I mean, my back, my neck, my hips, it's a little bit rough. It was. I'll be honest with you, it was a little rough. But let's get into the show. And Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm not bad, Mike. I've had a very peculiar day. Unfortunately, my mum passed away a couple of weeks ago, and we've buried her ashes today, the family. So
yes,
it's been a bit heart-rendering out there. But yeah, come back, and I've been working ever since on the website, keeping me active. I'm waiting for the show.
Good deal. I'm sorry you had to do that, man. I know that's tough, and I appreciate you still joining us today. And
wouldn't let you down, mate.
I appreciate that. Gary, Mr. Blackwell, how are you doing today, sir?
Dave, Mike, how are you doing? I'm very well, thank you. Yes, thanks for inviting me onto the show.
Oh, our pleasure. Absolutely our pleasure, Gary. Gary, I hope we can start out by asking you some questions that pertain to you. I don't know much about you. What I know about you is you are the XP Deus guru, and everyone here in the United States talks very, very highly of you. That's pretty much what I know. And anybody I've talked to said, oh, that Gary Blackwell is a really nice guy. But I'd like to get started with some personal questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, before we go on, Dais Guru, come on, guys. There's
I didn't say that.
There's probably a lot of people out there who are better at using the Dais than me. I just have a good knowledge of the products we sell, really, and that's as far as it goes. If I can figure it out, you guys can figure it out without a doubt. Well,
I can, I'll take your word for it, but I am telling you, here in the United States, you are known as the Dais guy. I mean, we've had many people talk about Gary. Yeah. Gary Cook said you're modest as ever. Yeah, I believe that because all these people here in the United States wouldn't be talking you up like that if it wasn't true. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt. So you can be. We'll let you be modest, but we know the truth.
Well, it's very nice of you guys, but yeah, no, I'm just an average guy with an understanding of the Dais. Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. I want to know, how long have you been detecting?
I've been detecting for about 24 years now.
Oh, wow.
How did you actually get into it then, Gary?
Oh, it's a real good one. My dad, one of my old houses, it backed onto some woodland, and my dad bought a metal detector, and he just used to go into the woods and detect and not come back until it was dark. And everyone started to get a bit panicky. My mum said, look, can you just go out with Dad and just keep your eye on him, because he's not a young fella. And I said, well, what do I want to go out with him digging up? What he's digging up? I've got no interest in it at all, really. But she said, just do it for me. Just go out, keep your eye on your dad. Well, of course, Dad was detecting, and I'd done all the digging through the stones, the rocks, the roots and things like that. And when I started to actually see what the hobby was really about, just things like sixpences and Victorian coins, and it draws you in. It's such a fascinating hobby. And it wasn't long before I got my own machine, and we spent some of our best days together detecting as a team, me and my dad, when he was alive. And I've got some great memories of it. So that's what got me started.
And they are the best memories.
Yeah.
I've been metal detecting about 23 years. We're real close there. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I spoke to my uncle today, and he's in his 80s now, and he said, I'll always remember taking you metal detecting. So you may have seen the picture of me with my dad when I was about 4 in my lovely tartan coat, and my dad with his old C-scope. And he said that we once went to Frodsham Caves, and you went into school the next day, and they asked you what you'd been doing. You said, I went metal detecting. And what did you find, David? Horse shit.
Oh, that's funny. What are some of your personal favorite finds?
Well, the finds are one side of the hobby for me. The finds don't excite me like a lot of people. We get into that a little bit later on, but some of the great finds I've had, which have really sort of impressed me, I found a Roman pigeon, which is a bronze pigeon. It's absolutely perfect. The workmanship on it is unbelievable. It's hard to believe that someone sat there and made that 2,000 years ago.
Right.
I haven't got a massive coin collection, to be perfectly honest with you. I've got a few Celtic and a few Roman and things like that, but the finds don't really float my boat. It's great finding something nice. It gives you a nice warm feeling inside, but what really floats my boat is the technical side of things, trying to get a machine to work on a certain difficult site. That's what really gets me going about the hobby.
Now, were you always like that, or is that something that you kind of? Because the reason I ask, I used to be more into I'm finding myself the same way. I know what you mean. Like nobody hunts this area because there's just too much iron or there's too much junk, and you want to whatever detector, whatever you're doing, you want to get it tuned in and see if you can do what others haven't been able to do, that kind of stuff. And I love the technology, so I'm with you. But I found that's changed for me, more in the last couple of years. I was more about the finds. What about you?
Absolutely. In the early days, it was great to have the find, but I think with this hobby, you move in stages where you first start off detecting, you find your Victorian pennies, your sixpences and your shilling, and every one of those is a special moment because it's the first find of a particular type. Then you go and buy the book and identify it and move on from there. But once you've had some Roman coins and the odd Celtic coin and your hammer coins, you kind of move on. You evolve in the hobby, and the technical side of things, it probably got hold of me about 10 years ago, something like that, when I had the Gary's Detecting website and I was doing reviews for the different manufacturers, and it just fascinated me on how different machines reacted differently on certain sites, and then it was the challenge to just trying to get them working. If I see a field with a load of footprints on it, to me that's the challenge. Game on. Let's find something on a field which has been searched to death, really.
What area do you generally of the UK, what is your general area? And obviously I know that you do travel quite often, but what is your general area that you would detect in currently?
Well, all my life I've searched in Buckinghamshire. I've had some really, really technical sites, as you've probably seen from some of the videos. They're iron-laden sites, and most of the iron is hobnail boots from hobnails from the Roman boots. And when you get a villa site, there's millions of these nails, and it's a great challenge to get in between them. So Buckinghamshire up until last year, and now I've moved down to Hampshire, where it's totally different. I just could not believe how different the soil is, the land is, the sites are compared to Buckinghamshire. Here you can walk half an hour without even a signal. There's just vast areas of fields, and yeah, you got quite a lot of Celtic and Roman down there, but it's noticeably harder to get a signal down there.
Wasn't it Buckinghamshire where Paul Coleman had this big hoard of Saxon coins about 3 or 4 years ago?
That was right. That was just north of Aylesbury, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was fantastic watching that go through.
But that was a really quiet site. The people were complaining there's no signals, there's nothing going on, and then wallop, the guy finds that in the corner. So,
well, that's perfect analogy of metal detecting, though, isn't it?
It is. I've got a bit of a theory about quiet fields as well, because would you have buried your hoard on a busy site back in the day? Not really. You would have gone to a quiet area and perhaps buried it, and maybe the quiet areas carried on for 2,000 years. Yeah. And, never write off a quiet field, because there may just well be the find of a lifetime on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no kidding, Gary. That's a real good point. Real quick, Kimberly Dubay, she says, so Gary convinced me about the Dais. I use a 400i but love the lightness of the Dais. Do you think because of my back problem would the Dais be easier on my back? I actually want to answer part of this if you don't mind, or have my input here.
Go on, Mike.
Kimberly, that Dais is so light. Before I'd ever seen it or anything, one of the things I questioned was, as light as that is, how can that hold up to like field hunting, beating it up against corn stalks and stuff? And that was a big concern for me when I heard about this detector and how lightweight it was and everything else. I know guys that have had them pretty much since they've come out. They're pretty much field hunters, and they have abused them, and they hold up. I've made jokes that they must be using some kind of alien technology to make it that light, but yet it holds up. But go ahead, take that if you don't mind, Gary.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the big reasons people choose a Dais is because it's light. And also, let's not forget, you can have a light machine which is badly balanced, but the Dais just ticks all the boxes. It's really well balanced. You can go through the stubble. You can work all sorts of terrain using the Dais. So absolutely 100%. The Dais is going to be the perfect machine if you've got arm injuries, back injuries, like we all seem to suffer from as we get older. Yeah.
To be honest, Kim stole my thunder a little bit. One of my questions later on, obviously having medical conditions myself and currently using quite a heavy machine, I was going to ask not so much a dissimilar question. And for the first time ever, and obviously I know a lot of people who do have XPs and all the feedback is fantastic about them. For the first time ever at Detectable, when I spoke to you there, was the first time I'd actually held an XP Deus, and I was shocked how light it was. I've never used one before, and obviously that's something I have to consider for my future now.
That's right. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Something that I think contributes to this success is the weight, and I hope this doesn't come out disrespectful, because I don't mean this at all in a disrespectful way, but when it first hit the United States, I felt like there was a lot of mixed reviews, and I think so many people who had shoulder issues and stuff, they took the time. It's almost like they didn't have a choice but to learn it, because it is a technical machine. I mean, somebody that's been in the hobby a good bit and understands machines like you or I, Gary, or a lot of other people, we learn them. But it was so new. I feel like, okay, but I can't go back to my 5-pound detector, my 4-pound detector. I've got to learn this. And because I know guys who sold them in the beginning like, this doesn't work, but I feel like they didn't give it a chance. They didn't, and you'll find that with a technical detector, a lot of people won't take the time, but I think it forced so many, and then you started seeing some really good programs, and people were really mastering them and, able to share more info, and it just, I think that's a big reason why it did take off the way it did. Not taken away from the technology, believe me. I mean, it's more than proven itself, but I think that was a big thing in the beginning for sure.
But talking about technology, let's go back to Paul Coleman, who found the Saxon Horde. Now, do you know what program he was using when he found the Horde?
Go on.
Basic one. The switch on and go program with no adjustment at all. And when I interviewed him, I said, Paul, what program are you using? He said, well, basic one. I always use basic one. I said, don't you try any other programs or settings? He said, I've never adjusted the Dais in my life. I just switch it on and use basic one. And he said, I kind of worked as certain rules. And he said, only adjust something if you need to, not because you can. And that's a good thing, isn't it? It's a good sentence. I've never needed to adjust anything, so I haven't. So, yeah, sure, the Dais is a technical machine, but it's kind of only as technical as you want it to be. You can make small adjustments, big adjustments, get right into it, but if you just want a switch on and go machine, it's right there in front of you.
Well, I think where people get in trouble is, they get in a place with a lot of iron or hot rocks, and they haven't taken the time to learn their detector and how to deal with that stuff. I know of a couple guys in Pennsylvania. I don't personally know them that were really struggling with hot rocks, and they sold their XPs. And I talked to specifically one guy that's very knowledgeable with the XP, and he said, Mike, I guarantee they didn't have their settings right.
Sure.
And that's that happens with any detector. You get to people who just don't take the time to learn them. And but yeah, I think a lot of people, they get a new detector like the XP and they want to know all the settings. Well, you might want to start basic, because that person's used that detector for a while and they made those changes for a reason. And what works for them might not work for you.
Absolutely, and you adjust it to your capabilities. Let me give you just a quick scenario here. Sat behind me, I've got thousands of pounds worth of camera equipment, but do you think I can take a good photo? No, I'm absolutely rubbish. But if I switch it on to auto, my pictures are perfect. If I use my Samsung, my pictures are perfect. But as soon as I start messing around with the camera settings and things like that, it's just rubbish, you know? So, yeah, but why do I keep messing around with it? Because I think by using the auto settings, I'm probably a little bit inadequate to have this equipment. I should be using all the expert settings, and which sort of kind of relates to the Dais, really. If you're not a technophobe, just switch it on and use it. For example, we've got the factory preset programs. Basic 1 is number 1. That's just a simple program. Then you've got Gold Max Power. Then you've got Dais Fast, which is number 3 if you're in amongst the iron. You've got the Deep program, which is factory preset 6. You've got the Hot program, which is factory preset 9. Then you've got the Goldfield program, which is number 10 for gold hunting and deep relics. So just by pressing that plus button on the menu, you can flick through all the factory preset programs and just find something that will suit your site or suit the day. So you don't have to get into the bare bones of the Dais. And hands up, you know, I'm partly guilty for this because I'm doing all these technical videos with Stuart and we're showing how to get into the bare bones of the Dais, where people buy a Dais and think that's what they have to do, which it's not true. Just switch it on and go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I like that, but I do like a technical machine that you can adjust. And I don't think enough people really learn their detectors, but I love a good technical machine that you can, set it up to how you want it in different conditions. So,
absolutely,
Gary, I am sure with your position and all the stuff you do, what are some of the favorite finds you've seen somebody else found while you were there, either hunting with them or filming? What's some of the cool stuff you've seen come out of the ground?
Well, one of my best adventures was over in Jersey when I had a phone call from the guys who found the Jersey Hoard. That was, I won't go into it, but if you Google the Jersey Hoard, you will see how big and how many coins. I think 750,000 coins, 3/4 of a ton it weighed, and it come out of the ground in just one lump. It's a fantastic story. They've been searching for this hoard based on a rumour, really, for about 30 years. Anyway, we got a phone call from Richard and Reg to say, do you want to bring your newfangled machine and try it over the hoard site? We've been doing it since 2002 or when it was found. For sure, we went over, me and Stuart, my camera guy, and we met up with the guys. We went over the field. I mean, by lunchtime, we'd had 11 hoard coins, and it was unbelievable. And these guys were gobsmacked, and they said, we just can't believe this machine's found this amount of coins in such a short time. And they've got Daises now, and they're really happy with them. But they've become good friends, and we quite often pop over to Jersey and have a meet up with them. But that was a memorable adventure, really, just going and meeting the guys over in Jersey and visiting the museum and just seeing all the treasures of what's come out of the ground in Jersey. It's a fantastic place. So if anyone ever gets time, pop over to Jersey for the weekend and just have a look at those museums, because that's an amazing place.
They're still actually working on the hoard, aren't they? The archaeologists and what have you, conservators, still working on pulling it apart.
Yeah, I think it's all done now. It's
right.
It's finally done, but cleaning up all those coins, it took years, and the actual guys who found the hoard were actually trained by the archaeologists to clean and conserve and identify the coins. So
fantastic.
They've actually sort of become a part of their team now. So that's, it's great for the hobby. It really is.
It is. That's one of the things that the magazine was set up originally to do, in exactly the same instance, was to cross the divide, to bridge the gap and get the two areas working together. And that's just a prime example how the hobby should be. Yeah,
absolutely. It's when everyone pulls together as a united family, it'll be like the old days, the old days of the hobby. And if we can get our trust from the archaeologists, that makes it even better,
Mm-hmm.
But as a rule, the archaeologists are more than willing to work with us. They've changed their attitude towards metal detecting, a lot of them over here, and it's in a good place. It's going in the right direction now.
It is. Again, things that the magazine has been privy to, a lot of things like that has been fantastic for the subject, the divide crossing. I mean, we've still got issues. There still will remain issues, but that's the same in any subject.
Absolutely.
But we're getting there, and, if we keep working at it, we keep picking away, at some point we'll get through, one way or the other. So, anyway, Gary, how many years now have you been swinging the Dais, personally?
Swinging the Dais? About 8 years, I think, I've been using the Dais.
And obviously you automatically became, well, more or less automatically became went straight over to the machine.
Yeah, my original concern was it's rechargeable machines, and back then everything you bought rechargeable was absolutely rubbish. Your hedge trimmers, your drills, and things like that. And that was my only concern. And I spoke to the guys at the shop, and they said, "Look, if you have problems with that battery, we'll replace it all free of charge. We guarantee you won't have problems with the battery." And they were absolutely right. I went sort of 2 days detecting and still on one charge, and it was just fantastic. I found a few little tweaks to suit my site, obviously, and it was just rock and roll from there onwards. It was brilliant, and still using it today, no complaints whatsoever.
And do you think there would be anything in particular? Obviously, we're not going to talk about other machines per se, but if there was another brand, if XP didn't exist, is there anything you think that could live up to where you think the Dais actually is? And I won't say name names, but yes or no will do.
Not really. To be fair with you, I'm sat up here in my office and it's surrounded by detectors, some of the latest releases from other makes and things like that. And yeah, don't get me wrong, they don't really make a bad machine these days, but it's still the Dais I'd pick up for a good day's detecting.
Mm-hmm.
If you said to me, if you didn't have a Dais, what machine would you use? That's a slightly different question, because the machine I'd probably use if I didn't have a Dais is the one sat in front of me, and that's a Nautilus DMC2B. And it's, how old's that, Mike? 25 years old, something like that?
Yeah, sure is. That's an old one.
Yeah. It's a dinosaur. It's got 4 9-volt batteries hanging out the back of it. It's got gas cooker knobs on it. It's got about 9 or 10 controls on the faceplate. But again, it goes back to challenging yourself. I find it a very rewarding machine to use. I love to get it adjusted right for the site, and trust me, there's enough adjustments on it. And when people look at it, they just say, "Geez, what's that, a Geiger counter, or what is it?" No, it's the Nautilus, I've always seen them, and I thought, crikey, is that a serious machine? And one of my friends in Scotland got one, and he said, "Gary, you've got to try this." So he come down with his machine, and we went out. And a week later, I bought a second-hand one, and I've got a special sort of affair with it, really. I really like it. So if I take 2 machines out, it'll normally be the Dais and this Nautilus.
The machine that I first used, as I spoke about before, my dad was an early C-Scope 600, and that got lost in moving and what have you in the past, and I'm still trying to find one on a car boot sale myself now.
That's it. Yeah, if you want to find out about this Nautilus and my adventure, if you go onto the Gary's Detecting website, or even type into Google Nautilus DMC2B review, and you'll see the Gary's Detecting come up. And it kind of, the review just says, look, how this machine's just blown me away. It's just, it looks so ugly. You can understand why the guys didn't sell many back in the day, because it didn't look very nice. But boy, does it perform well, you know. For an old machine, it's got a sweet audio sound. And what's unique about it, it's got all metal in your left ear and non-ferrous in your right ear, so you can pick out the two sounds. It sounds very, a bit confusing,
very unique.
Yeah.
I've actually just put in a picture on the All Metal Mode UK podcast page on Facebook.
Sure.
It's massive.
Yeah, it is.
Just stick it on Gas Mark IV and detect.
Yeah, those things were, kind of like Tesoro. They had their kind of cult following, and they still do. I still see people looking for used ones here and there now and then, and it's not always about being all pretty, and there's that Nautilus. It doesn't have a screen or anything. You're going off of tones, and it's not always about all that.
No, it's just
technology's great, but I mean, there's still some old detectors out there people wouldn't give a chance that could still be relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's whatever's comfortable in the user's hand as well. Obviously, the Nautilus might appeal to more people than the Dais does, just for the fact that they've grown up with the Nautilus. They know the Nautilus inside out, and they're quite happy with that, for instance.
I think the Nautilus was mounted on a White's XLT type stem.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's just, I wish they'd have done something with the batteries and made it a little bit more all-terrain, Not
a big concrete block attached to the back.
Do you know what? There's two controls on the front of the box. Now, let me remember. If the sun comes out and the coil gets hot, you have to tune the coil in. You have to re-null the coil depending on your temperatures. If it goes cold, you've then got to re-null the coil. But, it's just a good feeling to think, do you know what? I've got this machine set up exactly. I've nulled the coils. I've got the discrimination right, the grounds right. And all you can do then is just swing the thing and hope it bleeps.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Dealic jumped in the chat and she said, just wanted to say hi to my friend Gary and Mike and listeners as I'm packing my suitcase for Detector World.
Oh, look at Dilek ignoring me.
Yeah, look at that, Dilek. You ignored poor Dave. We actually had a conversation the other day, Gary, about a week ago, I guess, and I told her you were coming on, and she's like, oh, Gary's such a nice guy. I mean, even your competition says you're a great, nice guy. That's got to mean something.
Oh, do you know what? Me and Dilek are really good friends. She's just great, and I love talking to her. I love spending time. We can sort of be at an event together and just have a fantastic conversation. We don't even get into the machines. It's just two people having a great conversation. There's no secrets passed between us, and that's what's nice. There's no hidden side with Dilek. She's just a great friend, and we wish him all the best.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry, I kind of chuckled there. It wasn't at you, Andy Sampson, and I'm guessing he's talking about the Nautilus. I just happened to look in chat, and he said, is the red thumb button for launching the missile.
That's the manual retune. So when the threshold starts going a bit crazy, you press the button to retune it.
It really is a crazy machine. Gary, I want to kind of share this story. I've got to, since you went there. You remember when the White's DFX come out and how popular it was? I was never a fan myself. It was so complicated, and I've just never been a fan of Whites for the most part. And hey, every manufacturer makes some good stuff. I just, sometimes there's certain things you don't like or whatever. Well, I knew some DFX guys, and they did this big hunt. And they used to have these DFX only hunts, and a guy showed up with an old blue Whites that had a meter. It had duct tape. Yeah, I think you're right. And it had duct tape holding most of it together, and it was an old guy. And they all kind of chuckled at him, not to his face, but they all thought it was kind of funny. At the end of the day, they were all hunting together. They watched him. He'd dig another silver, then dig another silver. He got more silver than anybody else out there with all these, big high-end DFX, not long after it was the hot machine at the time. And I always love that story. I think so many people are quick to jump on new technology, and some of that technology, even now, something new comes out and everybody's got to have it, I don't know.
We're all the same. We're detectorists. We all want the latest and the greatest. But I kind of admire the guy who's got his old silver saber held together with elastic bands and zip ties. And you got to admire him if he goes out and has a great time. And do you know what? At the end of the day, like you quite rightly said, Mike, he's the guy who's going to find the most stuff because he's at one with his machine. He's used it for the last 25 years. He understands it. And,
right, exactly.
That's a big thing, just understanding the tools you're working with, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I almost hate to ask this after I told you what a legend you are here. I can tell you're very modest and you're not comfortable with that, but what's it like being a metal detecting legend and, respected and known around the world?
Well, the biggest advantage is the chicks. I love the chicks. They're outside the house.
Is that the baby chickens, you mean?
I don't really think about it. It's great to talk to all these people, and it's great to go to a rally and just meet new people. That's the best bit of my job, really, meeting people and just getting out there and doing what we love doing. But I tend not to think about the Gary Blackwell legend because it's just simply not true. Let's take the videos, for example. Anyone could do the videos and look good on the videos if they got a great camera guy like Stuart Mina who does my videoing and my editing. He's the one who really makes the videos look good. For example, you probably noticed with the Team XP USA, the last couple of shows have really been dynamic, and that's thanks to Stuart. He's doing a great job with the editing. Dave D, Sonia, RC, all the team are putting in their input. They're sending in the videos. They're doing a fantastic job. But Stuart's sewing it all together and just putting it into a neat package. So, it's probably more down to Stuart, my success, than me, if I'm to be perfectly honest with you.
I got you. But you do get noticed. I'm sure anywhere you go that's metal detecting related, you get noticed and people want to talk to you and all that.
Yeah, that's probably because I haven't got a human head.
It was funny you said I got a kick out of you saying the chicks because we had Chris Rogers on a while back from Addicted to Bleeps, and somebody in chat, actually I think it was Laura Higgins, asked has he ever had any naked pictures sent to him, and he said no, and I said, if I don't ever care to be known, I love what I do, but if I ever get naked pictures sent to me, I'm going to be real happy. That's I made it then, and I'm a pretty happy camper. But yeah,
and you did actually get some sent to you, didn't you?
Yeah, I had nightmares for a while after that, Dave. Thanks.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
Mike.
Dave. I was talking about that, and suddenly I get a Facebook message from Mr. Sattler, and Yeah, I was like, oh no, uh-oh. Laura said we should ask that to all the guests. Yeah, I agree.
I think we've got Lenny Quillen naked on show number 4 coming. I think that's going live tonight. I've just watched it actually. I just watched the prototype of it, and wow, yeah, I won't spoil it for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Laura, I agree. We'll ask that question just for you every time. Have you ever gotten naked pictures sent to you because your metal detecting status? And I'll say this again. If any of you ladies,
Gary.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know you first. Any ladies? Obviously, that's first.
Yeah. If any ladies ever want to send nude pictures of yourself, it's okay. I'm okay with it. I'll give you my email and everything. Okay, go ahead. I got it out.
I won't say that just in case Mrs. Sadler's listening. I was going to ask Gary about the XP. How did you actually become involved with XP? What was the original? Did you pick the XP up yourself and then obviously fall into working with XP, or what was the sort of process that you can talk about?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I think it was right back in the early days of the Metal Box Adventists. I can't remember how long ago that was. A long time ago. I was corresponding by email to Alan Luber, who's the owner of XP, and we become friends, and I invited him over for some detecting, and he brought the Goldmax, a Goldmax prototype with him, and a G-Max prototype, and we detected together here in the UK, and we just become really good friends. And over the years, as you know, I've worked for on different projects, mainly the Gary's Detecting website and the Gary's forum, and just I kind of wanted to spread my net because I wanted to try all different types of machines and review them, and not review them and say buy this machine, but do an honest review and say, look, this is the good points, this is the bad points, let's get out and give it a try, and just give people like the heads up, whereas the magazines don't always give you the right sort of information. So anyway, we become good friends, and I tested the XP stuff and things like that. I had my own business. I had a commercial paint spraying business, so I was kind of on the road 6 days a week. And I had a bit of bad luck with my health, and Alan said, stop that business, it's not good for your health, come and work for me, in not so many words. So we kind of hooked up about 3 or 4 years ago, and not looked back since. It's been really good.
That's great. That's really cool. What an opportunity, because I mean, you're definitely passionate about metal detecting, and that's great.
But you know, he is my boss, but he's also one of my best friends, so it kind of works really well. And do you know what? All the people at XP over in Toulouse, they're such a tight family. They're just really nice people. There's no politics. There's no pressure. It's brilliant. You know, I couldn't have wished for a better company to work for.
Good. That is great. That is great. I know I'm going to guess we kind of answered this, but I want to touch on it. What makes XP special to you? What drew you to XP? I know we've kind of touched on that. Do you got anything to add to that?
I just think they're all passionate about detecting over at XP, and I think that shines through on their products. At XP, we're really, really tight on customer support. As you know, all the videos we put out, the technical videos, the help videos, the technical articles, the help, that's what XP is all about. It's just keeping the customer informed, showing them how to use the machine. We don't need to go and do head-to-head comparisons against our competition. That's simply not professional. We just like to sit in the corner and just say, look, this is our product, this is how to use it, these are the people you need to speak to if you need help. It's just the good round package, the whole thing, you know, the real deal.
Yeah, That's great. Go ahead, Dave.
I forgot now.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say about the XP. Obviously, I'm in a position. Just briefly, in the UK this week, it's Mental Awareness Week. Now, I was going through a difficult period, and what actually helped me at the time was the creation of the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine. It was one of the reasons I launched it, was to help me personally in that period, and obviously things have progressed since then. And one of the things that I've progressed is what I didn't expect, was having to learn things about different companies and different products. And out of all of the products that are out there, of what I've seen, and obviously there are a lot, and I'm not yourself, Gary, who knows about the machines. I'm not Mike. I've told him I'm not technically minded in that respect. I'm not Luke. Each and every one of you have got a much bigger knowledge of the different machines that are out there. But what makes XP special to me, and again, I've not used it, is the fact that you can buy a machine for X amount of pounds, and you can keep that machine for such a long time because there's so many updates that you're giving people for free. That to me is brilliant. I can have a machine for 15 years and I keep getting updates from XP. I don't need to buy anything else. So even though the initial price may be a little bit higher than other machines of a similar quality, you're actually doing something fantastic there by giving people a constant updates. That to me is probably one of the most special things within the manufacturer community.
Absolutely, and you don't have to update if you don't want, but how many detectors out there have had a 9-year run and they're still in Europe one of the best-selling machines? Mm-hmm. And that just proves that they're listening to the customers and they're moving in the right direction.
I was surprised at Detectable how many people were actually using Dais. Again, what was say there was like 1,200 people there, would you say, approximately?
Yeah.
And, obviously a high proportion of them did come through the main tent where we were next to yourself. So I was able to see how many people were actually visiting the XP tent personally from exactly where we were. And although it was one of the smaller tents, you still had a high population of visitors throughout the event. And looking around, other companies didn't seem... There were companies new to the business, new to the metal detecting range. And obviously, people weren't looking at them because they didn't know. But XP had a constant stream all the way through, and you could see that. And you could also see what people were carrying. And the amount of Daises that people were carrying easily was quite brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a small tent. We just stood there and really just talked to customers for 2 days solid. It was brilliant. We had the ORX machine on display, and people were really interested to see how we were moving on and what that was all about. But yeah, Detectiveville was a really good event. Talking about events, we done one a couple of weeks back, which was the Rodney Cook Memorial Rally. Now, that was a real eye-opener for me because I think there was 400 people there, something like that. Gary Cook was organising it. It was for his dad. And as you know, me and Cookie are fantastic buddies. The amount of people who just went there to support Gary Cook, it didn't matter what machine you used. There was none of this, my machine was better than yours, and test beds to prove your machine isn't good enough, yada, yada, yada. I won't go on. But it was just a united family of detectorists. And do you know what? In 2 days, we managed to raise £27,000 for cancer.
That's fantastic.
Has that ever been done before? I don't know. Credit to Gary Cook. He's got so much respect in his hobby. I just don't know where to start. But these people were just going to support a great guy, and they were supporting a great cause. And it was like the old days. We were just one happy metal detecting family. And to me, that was the rally of the year, without a shadow of a doubt,
Yeah, I had Gary on. Well, you actually called in. He is a fantastic guy. I'll tell you what, he brought tears to my eyes talking about that hunt and stuff, and that was pretty amazing. And he's just Yeah, wonderful guy. You're right. And
yeah, kudos. I mean, obviously, I've seen the end product after the event. I wasn't able to get down there, being so far up north and what have you. But yeah, I've saw everything that was over the internet. And kudos for Gary and everybody else who helped out in that event. And obviously, the people who attended to raise that money. It's a fantastic cause.
To me, that's what detecting's all about. Just going out with your buddies and just having a good time, I think social media can be a good thing. I mean, we're talking now on social media, but has it done the hobby any good? Do you know what? The jury's out on that one, because I see so much on Facebook, sort of negativity, arguments. It's just not a nice place to be. I tend to avoid it if I can, but getting out onto something like that in the open air with all the other people, like-minded people, it was a breath of fresh air. It really was. And if you're listening, Gaz, you better start arranging one for next week.
Oh, he's listening. I think he's in floods of tears now.
Yeah, and the only reason I called in last week, Mike, was to remind Cookie he owed me 20 quid.
Did you get it?
No.
Cookie, if you're listening, you owe Gary 20 quid. 25 now.
Not really. Yeah.
I'm with you on the social media thing. I go back and forth. There's some really good stuff, but there's also a lot of bickering. And like I've said before, I've left groups because, I remember when the AT Max come out, there was another manufacturer group, and they were just trashing it and trashing Garrett users and stuff. And I hate that. I've got my favorites and my what I prefer, the company. I think it's a good company, but I think all of them make some. All of them have something to offer, and it certainly shouldn't be in the hobby, the bickering and the putting down like it is. And but there's also and there's a lot of misinformation. I talk about that a lot. I hate some of these YouTube videos, people doing all this air testing and stuff, and coin gardens and all that, and trying to compare detectors in a coin garden or air testing is senseless. It's not real world information. And but there's also a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good people out there, and I think it's a mix. But sometimes it does seem like it's more bad than good. Sometimes it does.
How can people make it a statement like, my machine's deeper than yours? What is this? Is this a school playground? I just don't get it. But, I'm not going to go off on a rant now, because
right.
It's just like it on Facebook. It can start off with quite a normal conversation, and then within a few posts, it's gone completely south.
Mm-hmm. And there's I find there's a lot of people I love the hobby. I've used a lot of detectors and equipment, and I've got some knowledge, but by no means am I an expert. But I'll tell you a good one that I just seen the other day. Somebody asked, almost word for word, something like, I'm looking to get into the hobby. What should I buy? By the time I got in there were like 62 or 63 replies.
Wow.
And I said, I'm disappointed, because nobody asked, what kind of ground conditions are you in? What are people using around you if you don't know the ground conditions? How much money are you looking to spend? There's all these questions that need, what part of the country are you in? What kind of detecting do you want to do? And none of those questions were asked. And people are sometimes you find people are so loyal to what they use that they'll throw that out there without even taking into consideration what that person should be using. And it's, you do see a lot of stuff like that. It's very aggravating. I'm sure you see people that, hey, they've got a budget of $500 or something, and they can't afford and maybe you could tell them something they could afford that you think's okay, or whatever. But just to throw out, detector. Hey, I think it's Gary. Gary keeps calling in. Gary, I can't take calls. If I take the call, it will put these guys on hold. I can't pull you in to the conversation. You know what? I'm sorry. Don't call here. Don't call and let me call you in. I believe I can call you in because I've got you.
Do you want me to call him on my mobile and I'll put a speaker to the...
Nope, I got him. I can call him in.
Hey.
I can call people in. We just can't accept calls. Gary Cook?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Gary, how you doing?
I'm fine. I just wanted to ask Gary what this 20 quid was all about.
25.
25.
I can't remember borrowing 20 quid off him.
Well, it's 25 now with interest.
Oh, is it going up, is it? Yeah, I thought it might be. I didn't want to hijack his show, but I thought 20 quid? I can't remember borrowing 20 quid off of him.
That's worth hijacking a show for 20 quid any day.
Anyway, guys. I am listening in, Gaz, and I just wanted to say I couldn't have done it without you, buddy.
No, I appreciate that, mate.
I couldn't have done it without you, pal. You were, yeah.
Hey, Gary Cook,
absolutely brilliant.
Hey, turn off the show in the background. You're driving me crazy with the show. I'm trying to figure out what's all that noise? Somebody's got the show going on in the background. And I can't hear much.
That might be me.
Okay.
Let me turn that off. Yeah, there you go. That's gone now.
There we
Sorry
go.
About that.
I couldn't hardly hear what was going on. Yeah, I figured it out.
Anyway, guys, I only wanted to ring in, as I say, because I just wanted to say thank you to Gary, because he without him that weekend would never have happened as well. So XP sponsored the rally for me, along with Pete Turrell from Leisure Promotions, and they were just absolutely fantastic to me. And I can't, as I think I mentioned in when you spoke to me, I can't speak highly enough of Gary. He's a very close friend of mine, and he's one of the best. He really is, and I love him to bits. I really do. So, yeah, Gaz, you know that, mate. You deserve it. You're a top man, and I love you to bits, pal. And I'll never forget what you did for me for my dad's rally, and help us raise so much money for charity. And you've always got my back, mate, and I've always got yours. You know that, buddy.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Good to hear it.
I'll speak to you at the weekend, buddy. You take care, all right? See you soon.
See you soon, guys. Have a great evening.
Talk to you later.
You too, pal. Bye.
That was a fun show. He's a good guy.
He is good.
He is a good guy for sure. I'm not sure where was we at, Dave?
Something to do with someone owing someone money.
That's all right. I'll get that back.
Hey, Gary,
I've got a question for you, XP related. Can you explain the different coils and the benefits of each?
Well, that's an interesting one. I've just done a little article for the Treasure Hunting magazine here in the UK, and it touches on the different coils. And it's a bit of a grey area. I could quote from the book, but it's not. I don't think it's really the right thing to do. The best coil is the one you're comfortable with, and honestly,
yeah,
exactly. We think that the bigger coils are going to go deeper on bigger targets. Great, that's what the book says, but when you go out with a 13 by 11 Dais coil and you find 2 cut quarters and you think, well, this isn't right. We shouldn't be finding these tiny targets with a big coil. And the other week, me, Cookie and a couple of other guys, we went down 4 foot, I think, on a metal box. It was a metal box or something. And we were still getting a good signal at 4 foot with 28 kilohertz, 9-inch coils. So how can we really put sort of coils into boxes? You can't. It's just luck on the day. But the high-frequency search calls are certainly doing the business here in the UK. I know some of your guys in the US, like the Calabash Digger and Dave D and the guys, they're absolutely smashing it with the high-frequency coils. Even on the Big Silver, you wouldn't think high-frequency would be quite as good on Big Silver, but it just is, you know. And so... sorry to be really vague on that, Dave, but do you know what? I don't know what the best coil is to use on any sort of given situation. It's just the one you're comfortable with, because you never really know what frequency to use, but it's nice to have the choices there.
Well, I'll answer that question a little bit. How many coils are there? Obviously, there are a lot of listeners who don't have XPs, who don't know much about XPs. How many coils are available currently for the XP range?
Okay, well, we've got 2 coils in the HF range, which is the 9-inch round and the elliptical coil. Then we've got the new X35 coils, which come standard with the Dais. Now, that's a 9-inch, 11-inch, and a 13 by 11-inch. So you've got 3 coils in that range. The X35 coils go right down from 3 kilohertz up to the sort of 20s. The HF coils go from 14 kilohertz up to the 50s, and the elliptical HF goes up to the 80 kilohertz range. So the higher frequency coils are generally better to use in highly mineralized soil when you're looking for those tiny targets, the low conductors, for example. But fibulas, tiny gold coins, small hammered coins on edge, they all fall victim to the high-frequency coils. We're seeing so many good finds coming up with the HF coils. My personal favourite's the 9-inch HF. I like to use that one. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the standard 9-inch coil that comes with a Dais, the 9-inch X35 coil, it's nice and light, it's nimble, it gets in between the areas quite well, and it's also got really good depth. So if I was to buy a new Dais, I tend to go for the 9-inch coil. I do like that size.
I'm going to digress a bit here as well. I also have another question.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, I should have thought about this earlier. XP itself, XP metal detectors, when did they originate? Where did they come from? When did it become a metal detecting company?
Hey, Gary, I want to kind of expand on that if you guys don't mind. I want to tell this quick story. At the time, I was a dealer, and at that time, it was nothing to sometimes a couple times a week get emails about, hey, carry our new detector, and it was made, overseas from the United States, and they always looked really sophisticated and stuff, but it was kind of old technology wrapped in a new, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And so when I first heard XP, I apologize, but I didn't take them. I just didn't take it serious. But then just like all of a sudden, it's like out of nowhere, everybody's talking about XP, and it would just like took off. But yeah, I'd love to hear a little history about XP. And
yeah, okay. Well, it started off, crikey, way back in 1998. I think Alan and his brother decided to work on a metal detector because they'd use run-of-the-mill detectors detecting over there in France. They just knew they could do something a little bit better. And in 2000, they brought out the Adventis, the XP Adventis, which was a metal box 4 kilohertz machine. And then in 2001, they went on to the Goldmax, and it just sort of evolved since then. The Goldmax Power come out, and then the Dais. But I don't believe you have any of the wired machines over in the US, like the Goldmax Power and the ADX 150, do you?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I think the US was really just the Dais. It started off with the XP Dais and just run from there.
Yeah, really took off. I mean, I'm sure there were some here and stuff, but the Dais really set the whole industry on fire over here.
That's right, because the original Dais prototypes, I believe, come out in 2008, and then they went to market in 2009. So, that's a good run for a single machine, isn't it? It's a really good run, and it just kind of proves that they've done something right. And it's going back to XP, they started off building machines at their farm because they owned some farm property, and then they moved to Toulouse, and they took on an industrial unit there, and then they extended the industrial unit not so long ago, and now they've just bought the land next door, and the new building is almost finished. It's going to be a new research and development department. So at the moment, you've got the factory there on the industrial estate, but their research and development department's about 10 kilometres away in Castanet. So they're sort of bringing it all together now, and they've got some neat stuff in the new unit. I believe they've got some test pits there with different soils there to test the machines on.
Well, as on behalf of the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, before Luke jumps on it, I'm going to invite myself over to have a tour one day.
Yeah, you can have a tour, but sadly you can't take any pictures because we don't
that wouldn't be a problem.
Just had a visitor last week, Virgilio from Spain, and he's doing some XP stuff for us, and he turned up with his camera hoping to take some pictures, and we said, sorry mate, there's no pictures inside the factory, because most of the robotics there we've got making our products are specifically made for the Dais. We've had them designed and made, and we use some pretty neat manufacturing tricks there, and they just want to keep it a secret for as long as they can.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of typing.
I'll be inviting myself.
Sorry about that.
Obviously, any company in that position, you expect the same. But that's something I'd love to travel over to France, and anything like that. I'd love to, get a little bit more into the bare bones, and obviously the subject's expanded for me massively, as you can imagine. So something like that would be a fantastic opportunity. So I'm going to invite myself one day.
Well, perhaps we can get a few people together, and I can take you all for a tour of the factory. How does that sound?
That'd be a fantastic idea.
Wow, that would be so cool. Sometimes I love where I'm at, but all this going on, detective all and everything else. Sometimes you just think, I wish I could be over there. I know this is kind of a almost a silly question, but I'm sure that we'll have some people listen in or tuning in now or tune in later. And, what makes the Dais such a great metal detector? I mean, give us what you love about it. Why would you want to purchase one, look at it, kind of sell it for us? How about that?
Okay. We've already touched on the lightness of it. It's as simple as you want, really. You can just switch on and go, or you can delve in a little bit deeper. But what I really like about it, it's just like a Lego set, It's you can chop and change. You can change the coil with just a press of the button, and it sees a new coil. All the accessories, they're all interchangeable with it. You've got the WS4 headphones, the WS5 headphones. So it's all channeled around this one basic platform, the Dais, and all your accessories, depending on your budget and what you need, you can kind of buy the bits to suit it. So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, a detecting Swiss Army knife, I guess, Yeah,
I think that's it's very, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. I want to expand on that a little bit further, because that is something that's really cool, and the updates, and you're not, it's such a, you said it perfect. I don't even know how to expand on that. It's the Swiss Army knife. It's something for every occasion. The new is it ORX or Oryx? I've heard it called the Oryx.
Well, I'll call it the ORX. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was calling it, and everybody I talked to was saying about the Oryx, and I kind of like that, but the ORX. Tell us about it, and why did it come about, and what's...
Okay, well, the Oryx is an entry level Dais, really. It's primarily made for the gold market because it's got 2 gold modes on it. We brought out a machine a couple of years ago. We made it specifically for one company called Dais, and they're a gold company there in Saudi. So this is really a similar machine to the Dais. It's got 2 gold settings, it's got 2 coin and jewellery settings, and 2 user memory slots. So it's quite sort of usable for different environments. We've got a new stem out called the telescopic light stem. It's got that on it, which is a lot lighter, and it's a little bit cheaper than the other Dais stem. It comes with high frequency coils. You can have a choice of the elliptical high frequency or the round 9-inch high frequency. But the X35 coils, here we go again, the Swiss Army knife, the X35 coils and the MI6 work straight away with it. It's got new headphones called the WS Audios. It's sort of slightly cheaper than the WS4s because they don't have a menu on them. So I think they're about $120 for cordless headphones, and it just tunes straight into the ORX. So, it's basically a Dais which is skimmed down on the features a little bit, and it can be used for gold hunting and treasure hunting. So it's quite a good package.
What are some of the, if I can ask, what are some of the features it shares, and what's some of the things different from the Dais? Can that be discussed yet?
Yeah. The ORX I had at Detectiveville's gone back to XP because we've changed the menu slightly, so I'm going to wing it here. But the menu's gone more sort of graphic based. So if you can imagine your Dais, you've got your basic settings and then you've got the expert settings. This ORX doesn't have the expert features. It's just got the basic sensitivity, discrimination, iron volume, things like that. The things you kind of use most of the time with the Dais. It's just a simplified Dais. It's got a new screen on it, which is quite cool. When you detect a target, you get a number come up, and at the bottom there's a bar which says iron probability. So this is really good, if you're having trouble identifying iron, because the iron probability bar gives you quite a good insight.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
It is a good idea. Again, it's just such a small package. It will go in a rucksack. So if you're traveling, just chuck it in a rucksack and off you go. You don't have to worry about disassembling it and putting things in boxes. It's just a grab and go machine.
Now, I'm guessing you probably got some pretty good time on that detector, correct?
I tested a prototype a couple of years ago. So because it was so close to what the Dais does, it didn't need a great deal of testing because we kind of nailed it with the Dais. So it was just really swapping stuff from one menu to another. And the high frequency coils are tried and tested. They're good. So really it was just a case of putting it all in the mixing pot and coming out with universal settings that please most people.
Okay.
We've had a question on the chat room from Justin Cornelius. He asks, can the ORX headphones be used on the Dais?
No, they're not compatible. They're unique to the ORX.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And vice versa, the Dais headphones, can they be used on the ORX?
Not at the moment. No, they can't. So it's 2 separate entities.
Mm-hmm. And Skylines asks, can it be used on beach or wet sand?
The ORX is pretty much like the Dais. It's not a dedicated beach or wet sand machine. We're the first to admit the Dais is usable on the beach and the wet sand, but it's it's not the ultimate choice, you know.
I find that funny because I've talked to some people who love their Dais on wet beaches. So I had to kind of chuckle there. Matter of fact, on the all metal mode show for the United States, I've had a few people. I know of at least two. I'm trying to think, but anyhow, that love it. Thinks it does great. And I talked to one guy. I've got one guest I've had on. His buddies in some really bad sand, wet beaches, and he just loves it. Just that's his detector of choice for the mineralized wet sand.
Yeah, I've heard it so many times as well. But as a rule, single frequency machines aren't really the ideal choice on the wet sand, especially when the surf is lapping over the coil, because the actual salt in the surf is causing a signal. But yeah, I've had so many good reports about the Dais being good on the sand. But I guess it really depends where you're searching, what your beaches are like and things like that, doesn't it? Dry sand's not a problem for any machine, but single frequency machines do tend to suffer a little bit on the wet sand. They can give false signals. If you're on the sand and you dig a hole and it starts to fill up with water, then you can get a signal over the hole, which is just a standard thing with single frequencies.
And what price will the market be looking at in both the US and the UK?
UK pounds wise, I think it's going to be about £800. That's the whole setup with the HF coil, the WS audios, the stem, the whole kit. And if you didn't want the WS audios, it's going to be about £700.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Sounds good to me.
What can we do have some people here in the United States that listen as well? Can we? What's that going to be in the U.S.?
Oh, currency converter. I have no idea.
Okay, that's okay. We don't have to do that.
Someone can write in.
Okay. I thought maybe you'd know off the top of your head, but no big deal. Well, I'm sure it's probably out there now, isn't it? I think I might have seen a price somewhere.
Might be.
Okay.
It's around $1,050 in the current UK pound sterling to dollars rate.
10.58. Yeah.
Okay. Great. I thought I'd seen it mentioned here in the United States. I wasn't positive. Dave, you wanna take that last question?
Which one? Where am I?
we're at the very last question we got.
Got you. Right, sorry.
This is my most exciting question, even though he's not going to give us much.
This is a big question. He's not going to tell us anything, is he?
Don't get your hopes up, but we got to ask.
Gary, what is the future of XP? What can we expect next?
Right. Okay. I was in France a week before last, and we got chatting with the engineers. We've got some really good projects in the pipeline at the moment. I can't say anything. Honestly, I can't. But we have got some really cool stuff coming out. Probably not this year, but just perhaps early next year, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but we're at the testing stage. We've got the prototypes going, and the feedback at the moment is really good. The guys at XP are testing stuff out. I've not had the privilege to test anything just yet because it's not at that stage, but yeah, we've got some neat stuff. I wish I could say more, but sorry guys, I can't. I really can't.
Gary, I've got another question. Do you ever drink a beer?
I do occasionally, yeah.
Well, I just got to say that, Dave, I'm really disappointed. A good co-host would have hooked up with him, got him a few beers in him, and maybe we would have got more information.
He lives quite far away.
It's been tried. It's been tried.
He said it's been tried.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding, but Gary, Dave, do you got anything else?
Well, as I say, I've been trying to research Dais a little bit more. Life is hectic, and obviously I'm looking into other machines as well. And I've just got to offer kudos to the company XP for creating something that, is as light, as compact, that can be used than anything else on the market. And especially for me, as I said before, I can't believe there's a company after 9 years, as you said, that's still offering updates where people can, get the latest technology within the system for free. That's something that's not being done elsewhere. So, kudos to XP. I will hopefully try one day, and it might assist me physically, as we've spoken about, and other people physically as well. So, we've all got to try different machines. We can't just be a one machine person. I've tried numerous ones. Unfortunately, I've always ended up coming back to my lab up to now. So, I'm open to try something in the future, and kudos to the company, and obviously to yourself, Gary. You are doing a fantastic job in the industry, community-wise, charity-wise, and obviously driving XP forward. So well done for that, and thank you for obviously coming on tonight.
That's right, Dave. We do XP Skill School days, which are dotted about the country. So why not hook up with us and come down to a Skill School day and use the days for the afternoon?
I'd love to, yeah.
That'd be brilliant.
That's something I did earlier. I meant to talk about, and we skipped over it, but that is something I see with XP. You guys are constantly putting information out there, and there's so much out there, reliable information that you guys are putting out there that really, I think that kind of speaks volumes about what you feel about your customers and stuff. It's not like you come out with this detector and good luck, have fun. It's, you guys put so much out there and help your users and stuff. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to the successful videos is we keep on subject. It's not about what we find. We go out and do a video explaining about a product. The video's not about me. The video's about the machine, and we just keep it real. Really, we just go through all the technical aspects and what to listen for, and I think that's why the videos are so popular, is because people tune in, they get the information what they want, and it's job done.
Gary said, hold on a second, guys, I got to sneeze. Hold on. Oh, I'm stuck in a sneeze. I think it's gone. Gary Cook said, tell Gary we will be out next week. Dave, you can use mine at the next skill school. Gary said.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Wow,
and I'm just writing. I'll need to keep an eye out for when the skill schools are.
I'll tell you something funny. I don't know why, but when I read Dave, you can use mine at the next skill school. For the picture that popped in my head is you tucking it under your arm and you're running for your vehicle. Trying to escape with it.
Size of me, you wouldn't catch me easily.
Walking
I'm
fast.
too fast. I'm too slow.
Would that have been another better way to put it? You're walking fast to your car.
Yes. It would be a Scooby-Doo moment, no doubt.
Justin Cornelius said XP Skill School is great. The 50/50 targets video was an eye opener. I've heard a lot of people talk about the videos and stuff too, about how great they are. So I was just seeing what else was coming in. If anybody out there, if you guys have any more questions, we've pretty much wrapped up, unless Dave or Gary has any more. Gary, if you got anything to add, but if anybody has any questions, let us know. Put them down real quick.
Hey, we've got one from Skylines again. He says, can XP come up with a pulse detector?
Sure, we can come up with a pulse detector, no problem at all. Yes, it's not rocket science, but is there a big enough market for a pulse detector? Yeah, maybe when we finish doing what we're doing, we bring a pulse out.
I think he's being all cagey there. I think there's something already in the
You think
guideline
so?
lines. Yeah.
Oh,
Something in the pipeline. You're a very cagey gentleman there.
yeah. It runs off satellite and things like that. Oh, talking about that, we've got our new app which will be coming out very, very soon. It's called the Go Terrain app, and do you know what? It actually talks to your Dais, so your mobile phone is talking, it's communicating with your Dais, and you can plot your signal on it and things like that, and you can have a group hunt so you can see where your buddies are on the map and things like that. So that's in the final testing stages. Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Marvelous.
Hey, Gary, I've got a question, and this one's going to kind of put you on the spot. And
Again?
well, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I got to ask this. I've been seeing a couple companies, and well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound bad. Starting to use their cell phones. You know, you buy a coil and a shaft, and you download a program and run it on your phone. Do you think there's a chance for that to be the future?
Oh, yeah, that was a guy at Detectorville.
That was air detectors, yeah.
Air detectors, yeah.
Alexei.
XP were messing around with that about 4 years ago, and we decided to not go any further with it because the Bluetooth on the phones can be pretty unreliable, and it's not particularly fast as well. So, it will work. It's a bit of fun, and the guys seem very, very enthusiastic, and we wish him all the very best. I hope he does make a success of it because it's fantastic technology, but at the moment, I don't think the Bluetooth's good enough to use that sort of technology.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I mean, I didn't want to... I know that's putting you on the spot a little bit, but I was curious about it. I know there's a couple other companies that have done it or tried, and I've heard they're a joke. Now, I didn't hear that about that guy, but I think that there's some Chinese companies out there building some things like that I've heard are just horrible. But, yeah. Justin Cornelius, why was the frequency shifted up 2 points on the 17 kilohertz range on V5.2? I heard it was because it was interfering on military band.
That's right. There was a place, I believe it was in Norway, and it was chucking out such a heavy carrier on the 16 kilohertz range, which I don't think anyone realised that it was going to be such a problem. So kudos to the engineers at XP. They just got on the case and nailed it straight away. I mean, what we don't realise with detectors is they're using frequencies, and no matter what detector you got or what frequency you're using, if the military decide they want to transmit on that frequency, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not as if you can phone up the military and say, hey, what frequency do you use? You've got to get blanked, you know? So that is a real tricky subject, and it could happen to anyone, any manufacturer at any time, you know? So, yeah, we got caught out by that one, but it was quickly rectified.
Yeah, it can. I totally get that. It can happen. That's pretty neat. Yeah, and that's the important part, you know, getting it rectified and recognizing the problem and taking care of it.
Yeah.
Gary, is there anything else you want to add or talk about, or?
No, I'm good. If we're talking about the XP Skill School, the guy you want to speak to is Pete at Leisure Promotions. He's one of our dealers, and he tends to organise the Skill School days. He does all the logistics, finds the land. I kind of just turn up and do the Skill School. So if you want to know when and where, Leisure Promotions would be the people.
Okay.
Unless any of your listeners have got a nice conference centre they can use with a little bit of land, I'll be more than happy to sort of turn up and do a skill school if there's enough people interested.
Yeah, maybe we could get between me and Luke and hopefully sort something out that way. That'd be an idea, maybe.
That's great. I mean, the last one we had was in a nice manor house, and a lot of people stayed in the hotel there overnight, and we had some lunch, and we went out to a local detecting club on the Sunday and done some detecting. So, you know, it's nice to throw the detecting into the event, really, because people can then sort of test their new skills, so to speak.
I've got one final question. Are you ready for this?
Go on, then.
What does XP stand for?
Explorer. That's the company.
Right. I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought it was going to be something French.
No. No.
Gary Cook said XP Team USA Show 4 is out on YouTube. You know, I don't think that really matters what country you're in. They're really neat shows to watch. So you guys might want to check that out. That's pretty cool.
I watched it earlier, and it's the best ever. You guys have got to watch it. It's just, this show is going from strength to strength, and the guys on the team, Dave D and his team, I can't thank them enough. They're doing an absolutely fantastic job of this. It's just so watchable. No, it's not specifically for the USA. There's lots of other stuff in the show. We're talking about the ORX as well there, and we're having a walk around at Detectiveville. So after the show, guys, get straight onto it and watch it, because you're going to love it.
I've just shared that actually on the All Metal Mode pages and on the Archaeology and Metal Detective magazine as
Brilliant.
well.
Brilliant.
And I'll say something else. Even if you don't use an XP, they're very entertaining and cool to watch. And so I would say that it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be in the United States, and you don't have to swing an XP to enjoy them. They're very enjoyable to watch, very entertaining, and get right to it. And they're good videos. Really good.
Absolutely. We all share the same hobby. No matter what machine we use, we're all in this together. So, that's the way it should be.
Gary, I appreciate you so much coming on. It has been so much fun. If I ever get over there, I know it's not a far hop to France. I expect to meet up with you, and I want to go see the factory. Can we make that happen if I make it over? I'd love that.
Yeah, if you come over to the UK, you can stay at Cookie's spare room, and then you can fly from the UK over to France. It's
cost you 20 quid to stay there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And if I don't pay up front, it's 25 by the time I'm ready to leave. And Gary also said in chat that you've been known to buy a beer or two. I would take a beer.
That's good. Yeah. Perhaps that's where that 20 quid's come from. I can't remember.
Great show. Appreciate having you on. Really enjoyed it, Gary. It was nice talking to you. And of course, anytime you want to come on and XP has something they want to talk about or announce, please let us know.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed your company. It's just brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
See you soon, guys.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Good night.
Okay, there's another show. I didn't play I had it all messed up, the intro and stuff. But hey, we got through it. I hope you enjoyed it. Gary was a lot of fun to talk to. What a humble, great guy. And go out there and check out the video, XP Deus Team USA. And don't forget, if you got any input on the show, you got ideas for guests, suggestions, any of that, go out to Facebook and All Metal Mode Podcast UK, or you're more than welcome to email me, allmetalmode@gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night. We'll see you next Thursday.